my name is Khalida Usman, and I'll be talking about the true origins of the Israeli Palestinian conflict and why decisions made just over 100 years ago are still felt in society today. See, the Arab Israeli conflicts have been a topic of great interest and debate within the field of international relations. This essay aims to provide a comprehensive analysis about the origins of these conflicts that have shaped the socio-political landscape in the Middle East for decades. By exploring historical, political, and socio-cultural factors, we can better understand the complexities that have contributed to the ongoing tensions between the Arabs and the Israelis. So, for context, geographically, Palestine was described as a land that had a low population and was not greatly cultivated. And as of 1880, the population of Palestine had been declining. There were three main groups, however, which was the Muslims, the Christians, and the Jews. A historian, Pipes, stated that there was no political purpose in the living area, but by the 7th century, Palestine had become predominantly Muslim due to Muslim conquest. So they became accustomed to the way of life of Arabs. It is also important to note that Jews also had a claim to the land of Palestine due to religious reasons, as Palestine was seen as the promised land. Now, the Jews believed themselves to be the chosen people of God. Throughout history, the Jews had experienced persecution and expulsion from Palestine. In fact, it started during the time of the Roman Empire, after two revolts in 70 AD and 135 AD. With this, the Romans had then had them expelled from Palestine, and the anti Semitic sentiment only grew and spread throughout Europe in the 19th and 20th century. Now, as this anti Semitism grew in Europe, the Jews would later move back to Palestine. While the Jews experienced persecution at the hands of the Romans and the later empires, the Arabs came to dominate the Middle East, North Africa, and southwestern Europe during the Middle Ages. However, their empire began to decline following the invasion of the Ottoman Turks. See, in the 16th century, the Ottoman Turks absorbed Arab territories, and the Arabs struggled to gain independence until about 1913. What we can discern from this is by the early 19th century, most Jews were still in Eastern Europe facing increasing anti Semitism, and the Arabs were under the unwanted control of the Ottoman Empire. Therefore, there was no true overlap. So, what could be the common factor in all of this? The British Empire. But not what you think. See, the alliance between the Ottoman Empire and the Central Powers during World War One greatly threatened Britain's hold of India, and the Suez Canal, located in the Middle East, became a point of interest since it provides access to the trade markets in India and East African colonies. With the threat of the Ottoman Empire in alliance with the Central Powers taking control of the Suez Canal, Britain sought Arab support in the Middle East, promising them independence. Thus, the Arabs helped the Britain defeat the Ottomans in 1918, and this was supposed to spell the start of Arab independence. However, a secret agreement between France and Britain in 1916 prevented this. In this agreement, both countries decided to split the Turkish Empire as spoils of a war. As a result, the Arabs grew resentful towards Britain. Alongside these two settlements, the British also gave a separate declaration in 1917 called the Balfour Declaration in support of the growing idea of Zionism, the which was a movement for the establishment of a Jewish state. It was named after the British Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour, who advocated for the establishment of a Jewish state through a letter to the Jewish leader Baron Rothschild, who was living in Britain at the time. The problem? Britain had promised independence to the Arabs for helping them defeat the Turkish during the First World War. However, they had also shown their support of Jews in establishing a Jewish state in Palestine and making it their powerful permanent home in the Balfour Declaration in 1917. And however, they also had a secret agreement with France to divide the Middle Eastern Europe's once held Middle Eastern countries once held by the Turkish Empire, which caused resentment of the British to cause resentment of the British from the Arabs and the Jews. Now, 1918 saw a sudden increase in the population of Jews in Palestine as a result of legal basis of immigration due to the Balfour Declaration, the U.S. Immigration Act of 1924, restricting European immigration to the U.S. after World War One, and a better quality of life in Palestine than in comparison to the lives in Europe, especially after the rise of anti Semitism and Nazi rule in Germany. Now, in 1922, Palestine became an official mandate of the British Empire. Now, as to be expected, neither the Jews nor the Arabs were pleased about this, since Britain failed to fulfill their bargain of giving each state their own independent state and right of national self determination, and instead were colonizing them and forcing them to cohabitate with one another. This led to an outbreak of violence from 1920 to 1939, an outbreak of violence within these two groups as well as towards the British. Investigations by the British Commission of Inquiry showed a number of incidents like clashes at Port Jaffa that led to the death of 200 Jews in 1921 and 133 Jews in 1929. Now, the report at the end of the investigation, published by the Royal Commission of 1937, concluded that the causes of political unrest in Palestine were Arabs' disappointment over Britain's reneged fulfillment of independence and the Arabs' right to self determination. Now, they began partition plans and creation of Israel. Following the World War II and the Holocaust, Britain soon realized that they could no longer occupy Palestine as it was too costly, especially after the rejected partition plan of the 1937 Peel Commission, which was split unfavorably towards the Arabs. So by 1946, problems facing Palestine was infighting, was civil disruption, where from Jewish terrorist groups like the Irgun that was later absorbed into the Israeli Defense Force, and the Lehi, who were attacking Britons. For example, the bombing of the King David Hotel in 1946, which was the headquarters for the British, as well as infighting, as large number of Jews wanted to go to Palestine, and the USA supported this, but Palestinian Arabs did not want more Jews to settle. So the UN proposed a partition plan in 1947, aiming to divide Palestine into independent Arab and Jewish states, especially now that there was growing sympathy in the international community for a Jewish state following the Holocaust. This sentiment was even more assertive after the SS Exodus disaster caused by the British. The acceptance of this plan by Jewish leaders and the subsequent proclamation of the State of Israel in 1948 caused resentment and anger among many Arab nations. The immediate invasion by neighboring Arab states further heightened tensions and marked the beginning of a series of conflicts that have shaped the region ever since. The Arab Israeli conflicts are deeply rooted in the aspiration of both Arab and Jewish nationalist movements. Claims over territory, specifically East Jerusalem, West Bank, and the Gaza Strip, which have been central sources of contention because Israel occupied these territories following the Six-Day War in 1967. The Arab nations, especially the Arab League, have demanded their return as a prerequisite for lasting peace. These territorial disputes have fueled animosity and hindered diplomatic efforts to reach a comprehensive resolution. Understanding the origins of the Arab Israeli conflicts is a multifaceted endeavor that requires a nuanced appreciation of historical, political, sociocultural, and external factors. While the analysis highlights some key elements, it is crucial to recognize the inherent complexity of conflicts. Achieving a lasting and equitable peace will necessitate a multifaceted approach involving diplomacy, compromise, and a genuine commitment as seen by issues like the Oslo Accords or the Camp David Accords. However, these failed to truly reach lasting solutions, as shown by the First and Second Intifada by the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. Only through comprehensive dialogue and a shared desire for reconciliation can the cycle of violence and hostility be broken, paving the way for a more peaceful future in the Middle East. Thank you.